Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take a deep breath and sit with this for a moment. Before we begin, I want you to know this. At the end of this video, I'll make a heartfelt prayer specifically for you. A prayer that could bring peace to your restless heart and light to the questions you haven't yet voiced. But for now, I want you to listen. Really listen. You didn't land here by scrolling through just another video. And this isn't just a message, it's a moment. You've been walking with thoughts lately, haven't you? Thoughts you can't explain. A heaviness in your chest that isn't about stress or your life or people. It's deeper. It's spiritual. Like something is trying to reach you, but the noise of the world keeps getting in the way. This is your reminder to pause. Sometimes, when the world around you won't slow down, it's because your soul is being pulled in another direction. You felt it. Those nights where sleep comes late because your heart feels too loud. The sudden desire to just sit in silence. The urge to cry and not know why. The question that keeps rising in your mind. What is Allah trying to show me? This is what you've been waiting for. Not a sign written in the sky. Not a miracle that shakes the ground. Just a clear word. A personal address. A reminder from your Creator that He sees you. He knows the quiet battles you're fighting, and He has not left you. There is something you need to understand before tomorrow comes. Something urgent. Not in a worldly sense, but in a spiritual one. And that urgency is not about rushing. It's about recognizing. Recognizing that you've been spoken to in so many ways. Through people, through penance, through pauses in your plans. And maybe now, through this exact message. The call you've been sensing isn't your imagination. It's real. It's soft. But it's persistent. And the fact that you're here, still watching, means you already know something sacred is unfolding. Allah is not distant. He is not delayed. He is not silent. Sometimes, He just waits for you to finally stop and turn your full attention toward Him. So don't treat this like background noise. This is your moment. This is your call to rise, to return, to remember, and to reconnect. This is the moment that begins the shift you didn't even know you were ready for. Stay with me. The next words you hear may be exactly what your soul has been searching for. There are moments in life where everything seems ordinary on the outside, yet something inside begins to stir. That stirring isn't anxiety, it's not confusion, and it's not boredom. It's the beginning of a divine message being sent directly to your soul. But because we've grown used to looking for loud answers and dramatic signs, we often miss the way Allah truly speaks to us. It's quiet, it's consistent, and it's persistent. You see, it usually starts with things we dismiss too quickly. The dream that woke you up in the middle of the night. The sudden urge to pray after weeks of feeling distant. That one verse that keeps showing up no matter what you read or listen to. The face of a person who randomly comes to mind, followed by an emotion you can't name. You think it's just life happening around you, but it's actually your Creator gently drawing your attention toward Him. When Allah wants to speak to someone, He doesn't always send thunder. Sometimes, He just increases your sensitivity. You begin noticing things others don't. You become unsettled by things you used to enjoy. You start feeling heavy in places that once brought comfort. And instead of feeling alive, you feel like you're floating through your days. It's like everything outside is moving, but you're quietly being pulled inward into a space you haven't fully explored yet. That pull isn't something to ignore. It's sacred. It's purposeful. And if you're not careful, you'll label it as depression, burnout or loneliness, when in fact it's your soul being summoned to realign. You've been ignoring those inner nudges. You've brushed off those divine invitations because they didn't come packaged in the way you expected. You wanted a loud revelation. You wanted everything in your life to pause and scream that this is your moment, but that's not how Allah always works. He already knows the noise you live in. That's why His messages often come in silence. He speaks in the moment where you're least distracted, right before sleep, right after heartbreak, right in the middle of a prayer you didn't plan to make. And when you ignore those moments, it doesn't mean He stops calling. It just means your heart grows more distant from recognizing His voice. Every time you felt a little push to leave something haram behind and didn't. Every time you felt the guilt after missing a prayer but went back to your routine anyway. Every time your heart dropped when you heard Quran but still chose not to open it. Those weren't meaningless. They were signs. Gentle ones. Allah doesn't force your attention. He sends moments. And if you've been feeling like your soul is restless, even though your life looks fine, it means your soul is aware of what your mind keeps trying to deny. There's something Allah has been trying to get through to you. And every time you hit ignore, every time you delay, every time you entertain everything and everyone but Him, you're closing your ears to the one conversation that could finally calm your spirit. The signs have always been there. They're still showing up. The only question is whether you're ready to see them for what they are. Not guilt trips, not spiritual paranoia, but love. Deep, divine love sent straight from the one who created your soul and still wants to reach it. There comes a time when the silence becomes louder than all the noise that once filled your life. The friends you used to talk to feel distant. The plans that once excited you now seem dull. Even your prayers, once filled with fire and passion, feel like they echo into nothing. But here's something you might have never been told. That silence you feel is not emptiness. It's a message in disguise. When Allah wants to strengthen you, when He wants to take you to another level of sincerity, He removes the distractions. And sometimes the biggest distraction isn't what's around you. It's your expectation of how guidance is supposed to look. You've been taught to expect light and warmth. But what if the lesson begins in stillness and shadow? What if the silence you're experiencing isn't rejection, but preparation? What if the delay in your du'as being answered isn't a punishment, but an invitation to grow, to lean in, to rely solely on Him? Too many people give up during this season, thinking Allah has turned away. But the truth is, this is when He's nearest. He has taken away all the extra, so you can finally hear the sound of your own sincerity returning. Don't mistake silence for abandonment. Allah doesn't turn His back on His servants. He withholds only when the gift will be better received later, or when the delay will create a deeper connection between you and Him. You might feel like your prayers are just bouncing off the walls. But from His side, every whisper is being received, every tear is being recorded, and every moment you spend in quiet reflection is being lifted. The heaviness you feel is not because you're ignored. It's because your soul is being asked to carry more than it used to. And growth is always heavy at first. The world may tell you that silence is empty, that it's the absence of connection, but spiritually is one of the most sacred spaces. It's where clarity is born. It's where sincerity is tested. It's where Allah starts stripping away the illusions so that you can finally recognize what matters. You've been walking with so many voices in your head. Voices of doubt, fear, insecurity, and distraction. And now, those voices are quiet. That may feel lonely, but it's actually a gift. Because only in silence can you start to hear the one voice that truly matters. There's a refinement happening that your eyes can't see. You are being prepared for something your current self cannot handle. That's why everything feels quiet. That's why it feels like your life has slowed down, even though you're still doing everything you used to. This silence is the soil of transformation. It's the space where faith deepens not through answers, but through waiting. It's the moment where your relationship with Allah is no longer built on how quickly He gives, but on how deeply you trust, even when nothing seems to be happening. So don't walk away from this moment just because it feels still. Don't close your heart because the signs aren't flashing bright. This is the sacred pause. It's not a stop. It's a space that Allah has created to prepare you for what's next. And if you walk through this silence with patience and trust, you'll soon look back and realize that it wasn't empty after all. It was full of everything your soul needed most: purification, closeness, strength, and the quiet but unwavering presence of the one who never left your side. You've been asking, waiting, hoping, maybe even begging at times, and still, what you wanted didn't come. What you prayed for stayed behind the door that wouldn't open. You've replayed the reasons in your head, wondering if you said the wrong dua, made the wrong move, or maybe didn't deserve it in the first place. But there's something deeper happening here, something beyond the timeline you had in mind. What you saw as a delay was actually a layer of protection. What you assume was being withheld was actually being perfected. Allah doesn't forget the tears you cry in private. He doesn't misplace the requests you make with trembling hands. And He certainly doesn't ignore the pain that settles into your heart when you're trying to be patient through the silence. But He also knows the things you can't see, the future you're not ready for, the blessings that, if given too soon, would destroy you instead of build you. He holds back not because He's distant, but because He's too close to let you fall into something your soul can't yet carry. Think about how many times you thought something was perfect for you: the job, the person, the opportunity. And now, looking back, you realize that had it worked out the way you wanted, it would have derailed you completely. You prayed for something you were sure would bring peace, not knowing that it came with hidden trials. You asked for doors to open, unaware of what waited on the other side. But Allah knew, and that's why He didn't say yes. Not yet, not now. The delay isn't empty. It's full of divine work being done behind the scenes. Your name is being written in places you haven't entered yet. Your provisions are being moved into position. The hearts that need to align with your path are still being softened. It's not that nothing is happening. It's that everything is happening in a place you can't see. And the more you trust the one who sees it all, the less your heart will need instant answers to feel at peace. So if you're still waiting, don't let frustration turn into disbelief. Let it turn into trust. Let it turn into quiet faith that knows Allah has never delayed something except to give it to you at the most perfect time. A time when you'll be ready. A time when your gratitude will be sincere. A time when the blessing will come with no added pain. That is the kind of giving your Lord is preparing you for. So wait with faith, not with fear. Because He never delays without purpose. There is a sacred moment in every journey when the soul becomes still enough to hear what it had been ignoring. That moment doesn't always come with a loud event or a major breakthrough. Sometimes it simply arrives when the heart softens just enough to receive truth. And right now, you are in that moment. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, something within you has already awakened. That gentle discomfort you've been feeling, that weight in your chest, that question that keeps repeating itself in your thoughts. These are not to be pushed aside any longer. They are the signal that you have reached the moment where you must respond. Allah doesn't call your name without a purpose. He doesn't stir your spirit without reason. He doesn't arrange for you to hear words like these unless something inside you is ready to shift. And if you've reached this part of the message, then it means your heart is already leaning toward Him, even if your life doesn't reflect it perfectly yet. You don't need to be ready in the eyes of others. You only need to be honest before the one who already knows what you're hiding, what you're afraid of, and what you're silently longing for. There is a point where delaying becomes dangerous, where hesitating turns into disconnection, and where silence from your side begins to feel like rejection from the other. But Allah is not like people. He continues to call, even when you ignore Him. He continues to invite, even when you reject. And He continues to show mercy, even when you fall short. But that doesn't mean you should wait. Mercy is a gift, not a guarantee. And every day you wake up with your heart still beating is another chance to say, yes, I hear you, and I'm ready. You don't need a dramatic gesture to return to Him. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take one clear, intentional step. That step might look like a single prayer, or an honest moment of asking for forgiveness, or even just the decision to stop running. Because once you take that step, something shifts inside. The walls begin to lower, the fog starts to lift, and suddenly, what felt impossible begins to feel necessary. Do not let this moment pass. Do not scroll away from a message that was meant to reach your soul. Because some people will never realize when their invitation came. They'll wait for clarity, not knowing it already arrived, but was disguised in a moment just like this one. Don't wait to understand everything before you respond. Sometimes, the act of responding is what unlocks the understanding you've been waiting for all along. You've reached the point where your heart can no longer sit quietly. Something within you has been stirred. You feel it. This subtle push telling you that change must begin now, not in some distant future. But the question remains. How do you answer Allah when you feel unqualified, unprepared, or unsure of what to do next? The answer is simpler than you think. He's not calling you to be perfect overnight. He's not asking for grand speeches or flawless devotion. He's asking for your presence, your intention, your willingness to try again. Start small. Start quietly. Start in the space where only He can see you. That's where real transformation begins. Not in the public eye, but in private surrender. You don't need a dramatic plan to turn back to Him. You just need to pause and say, I'm ready. Ready to be honest, even if you don't have the strength to do everything right away. Ready to return, even if your steps feel unsteady. Ready to believe that even with all your flaws, Allah still wants you close. Begin with a prayer, not the kind you recite out of routine, but the kind that comes from a broken place. A whisper, a sigh, a wordless plea. He hears that. Then look at the habits you've been making excuses for. The ones that keep pulling you further from the peace you crave. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one. Confront it. Remove it. Let your sincerity speak louder than your struggle. Because even if it's hard, even if it takes time, the moment you begin walking back toward Allah is the moment the heaviness begins to lift. Don't underestimate the power of small efforts. A single sajda that comes from the depths of your heart can carry more weight than 1,000 that were performed without feeling. One sincere apology to your Lord can reopen the doors that felt forever shut. One night, where you sit in the dark and admit that you need Him, can change the entire direction of your life. Allah isn't measuring how polished your worship looks. He's watching how real your return is. And if you feel like you've been too far for too long, remember that distance is only real when your heart refuses to turn back. But the moment your heart inclines even slightly, the distance vanishes. Because Allah is closer than you think, closer than your past, your guilt, and your doubts. He's not standing at the end of your journey waiting for you to arrive. He's walking with you, every step you take, even when you don't feel worthy of His company. So begin now, not when you're ready. Begin because He's ready to receive you. Your job isn't to fix everything. Your job is to return and let Him handle the rest. One step, one breath, one honest moment is all it takes to change everything. You've come all this way, listening with your heart open. This moment wasn't by chance. It was meant for you, to remind you that you are not forgotten, you are not alone, and you are deeply loved by the One who created you. Sometimes, the hardest part is simply accepting that you have been called, that you have been seen, and that you matter more than you realize. If this message reached you today, hold on to that truth. It means Allah has not given up on you, even if you've struggled to believe it yourself. Now, before you close your eyes tonight, take a moment to speak to Him directly. You don't need perfect words. Just speak from your heart. And as I pray for you, know that you are held in a mercy wider than the skies. O Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, guide your servant, who listens now with a heart seeking you. Open their eyes to your light and their heart to your love. Grant them strength to answer your call with sincerity and patience. Remove from them all doubts, fears and burdens that weigh on their soul. Fill their days with peace, their nights with comfort, and their steps with certainty. Make their path easy and their faith unshakable. Bless them with guidance that never fades and mercy that never ends. Help them to trust in your plan, even when it's hidden from view. Accept their return, forgive their shortcomings, and hold them close always. Ameen. Remember, you don't need to understand everything now. Trust that Allah's timing is perfect and His love is constant. The journey ahead is bright because you have answered the call today. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and know that you are never walking alone.